This is a special Under the Skin YouTube release provided to you by Luminary Media. This week's guest is YouTube superstar Logan Paul. If you'd like to listen to all the latest episodes of Under the Skin, you can do that on Luminary. Sign up at luminary.link/Russell and follow them at HearLuminary on social media. Some previous episodes you might like include Karamo Brown, Lena Dunham, and Jamila Jamil. I'd love for you to subscribe and support Under the Skin. There's a new episode out every Saturday. Thank you.
Logan, thank you so much for agreeing to do this conversation. We don't even know the destination of it yet, do we?
No idea.
At this point, we're so in the moment, spontaneous guys, that this could end up, this my hope is it ends up on your YouTube channel, my YouTube channel, which comparatively, like the amount of noise and power your channel generates to mine, it would just a pipsqueak shout in the background of the mighty bellow of the YouTube phenomena that you've created.
Yeah, it's crazy. But also, I don't think it'd make as much noise if it wasn't you in this conversation.
Right, you think I am a valued participant.
Of massive value.
It doesn't take a lot for me to get insecure, so thank you very much for saying that. I appreciate it. So, like most people, like outside of your now extremely powerfully developed dynamic, will know you because you had that fight and stuff, and because of controversial things outside of your milieu and your medium, because you're famous in a new way. You're YouTube famous. You're a type of famous that 10 years ago didn't exist. I'm in my 40s, like I've come through conventional media, but like I know
I've seen it all.
You've seen that stuff.
I gotta say, I'm a fan. I'm a fan.
Like, this is getting more relaxing for me by
the
second.
No, trust me. When Andre brought your name up, I was like, it'd be an honor to sit down with them. I watched obviously a lot of your stuff with Joe Rogan. I think your ability to articulate complex ideas is like second to none.
Oh, wow.
And yeah, no, I'm happy to be here, bro. So thanks for having me,
Logan. Thanks very much for saying that.
Yeah.
But I thank you gratefully and graciously, and also I thank Andre, the shapeshifter, that has brought you here using his phantasmic abilities.
Yeah.
He was meditated by a woman that works with us called Kylie.
Smiley Kylie.
Yes. Nice. And then you peculiar man that moves between worlds, Andre, have generated.
Do you move between worlds? You can tell me. Yeah, he does. I think he does.
Interdimensional travel. Yeah. So, like, I suppose what I'd like to talk to you about is there's a few areas. One is fame. One is addiction. One is controversy. There's a few things, and like it's so lovely to me. You tell me, how are you coping with like you're like 24, aren't you?
24, yeah.
How are you coping with being sort of like, I'm assuming that like 4 or 5 years ago your life was different.
Very, very different. Very different. Yeah, 5 years ago I was 6 years ago I was a student in college, and I thought I was going to be an engineer for the rest of my life. Industrial and systems engineer. I'm a nerd. I like to pride myself.
Oh, you're a nerd.
I like to pride myself on studying and getting the best grades I could in school. I got a full academic ride to college. Stroking my ego for a sec. Full academic ride to college.
Well done.
Thank you for engineering. So yeah, I thought I was gonna invent products and revolutionize efficiency in factories for the rest of my life. That's what I thought I was going to do.
Engineering. You were going to engineer like, oh look, we can do this in a much more efficient way.
Yeah, wild, right? And I've never had a mentor. Like you kind of mentioned it, this weird like path that myself as well as a bunch of other influencers, creators, like whatever you want to call them, it had never been done before. So we kind of like we were like trailblazers in many ways, and I've never had like a mentor, which is actually why I was excited to sit down with you. Like you mentioned, the fame, the controversy, the ups and downs of this weird like Hollywood industry, and like just being able to pick your brain about stuff that maybe I didn't have direction on. It excites me. So
I'm flattered that you would consider me in such a way, and I'll be obviously honored to help you. It's interesting because like even though like us like online spaces and the people that create content on them, that's a sort of a novelty in the world of fame and celebrity. And I'm thinking about, let's say, when the music industry would have been transformed by the transistor radio or by vinyl or by the advent of television, like, but you know, like that always creates sort of iconic figures. Like, so in some ways you're unconventional. So, I just was going to be an engineer. But in another way, it's very recognizable. You're a good-looking man.
Thanks,
you're
man.
Charismatic. You're sweet as candy.
Thanks,
aren't you? So in a sense, it's like a very recognizable sort of path. What's weird, I suppose, is the amount of control you have over your content. So, tell me how you got into creating the stuff you create.
That's that's the thing I think I might be most addicted to about what I do. being a creator, essentially the control is in my hands. And it was fascinating to come to Hollywood, and I came to Hollywood wanting to do what you did. I wanted to hop industries. I wanted to be an actor. I don't know what your original goal was, and I'd love to know. But when I came to Hollywood, it was I wanted to be a big actor. And then you get on set, you have absolutely no control. It's hurry up and wait, and the creativity is no longer from here. And with the stuff that I do, I became addicted to just producing whatever I wanted, whenever I wanted. Like that is an undeniable thing that I was attracted to with social media, and I think that's why I stuck with it for so long, and I'm still on it.
So you can just have an idea, and then you can realize it. Do you have like what we would recognize as conventional production? Do you work with writers or producers? Do you brainstorm and go, I think we'll do something in them suicide woods or whatever? Oh no, is that a bad thing to mention? I know that was a controversy. I know it was a controversy.
Well,
is it an unmentionable?
No.
controversy?
I actually wanted to dive into that with you, but just the way you said it, I mean, you know, you're funny. You're a comedian. Like, yeah, that was just the way you said it was.
Was it good?
It was pretty funny.
Oh, yeah, that's good. That's good. So, but with the generation of content, something like that, do you just how do you come to that idea? Because I love the pranks that he was. Do you know the thing that I wanted to mention to you is like Jackass, like when Jackass, all like them lads, Johnny, Vauxhall, and all them, when they all came to Knoxville, when they all come to England, like I was working for MTV. I was still a crack and heroin addict then, but I was like working on MTV, so I did like loads of promo for their show and helped launch their show.
Okay.
And I thought, even though what they're doing is all skate culture and hurting themselves and beating up on themselves, I thought there's something real punk and prankster about what they're doing. It's disruptor.
Yeah.
It's like very disruptive. And I feel like possibly you're interested in that kind of thing, creating sort of in recent French artistic history, it's called situationism, creating unusual situations that in themselves show up the absurdity of the everyday.
Absolutely. It's funny. The Jackass guys were quite literally my inspiration as an 8-year-old to start making content. Like my first ever YouTube video was called like Logan Does Stunts, and it was me like jumping off of like refrigerators and like slapping my brother in the face with like a ham, inspired by the Jackass guys. And it's ironically enough, like they've in a way bred a jackass. Like, you know, I like to consider myself an evolved jackass, but
what are the points of evolution? How is it? How do you think it's moved on? Other than the medium, obviously, and the fact that you're creating and controlling the content. Skate culture, they would have, I guess, been doing a version of that always, but just on VHS is passed around.
I think honestly, it's a maturity thing. I've always been a late bloomer. I've always been late to mature in my content. I mean, when you go back 4 or 5 years ago, a lot of it is like cringe. It's high energy, it's fun, but it's just like this cringe, weird version of myself that when I look back at, and I'm sure you feel like this too when you look back at your old stuff.
I'm cool, really cool.
Yeah, I know you've always been cool. Must be fucking nice, bro. He's got.
I regret things I've done this morning.
You've always been great. Not me. I wasn't born great. I wasn't the kid who was born with an innate talent or with a golden spoon in his mouth. Like I had to learn and forge my way to become this likable guy, and years and experience. And again, I'm only 24, so the 26-year-old Logan watching this interview will probably not recognize this kid. But
I was so innocent back then.
Maybe. I'm serious though. My evolution over even a year, 2 years, 5 years is absolutely mind-boggling to me.
Yeah, it must be changing quite radically because, again, even relating to the content, you can create all this content, it can evolve and it can change quite quickly. How did you get from the early prank Jackass-inspired slapping your brother with, I think what you said was a ham. A joint of pork-based meat?
Yeah.
How did you? What are your next steps, and when did you notice that it was starting to have an impact?
Way too late, to be honest with you. Way too late. I was not focused on the impact of my content so much as just producing the next piece of crazy content I could. I legitimately did not think about the impact. Also, didn't really care. I think that was part of the Tokyo problem and the Japan problem.
Right, that's what we call it. Not suicide woods. Tokyo.
No, but that's what it is. I mean, we can call it whatever. That's what it is.
What happened there?
That was significant in my life for many reasons, but mainly because it took that for me to realize that what I was doing was so fucking wrong, in that social media was creating a person that it was just not me. My only motivator was views. I wanted views, because views equated to money, views equated to subscribers, which equated to success. And I started to skew the person that was Logan Paul. Like that kid that was on Vine, Logan, was now becoming this influencer who all he cared about was making the most noise that he could. And so the bigger, the louder, the faster, the better. And there was no forethought or foresight that went into the content we were creating.
Yeah, it can be very seductive, and I still have to be quite observant of the impact of fame and money. These are sort of powerful corruptors for people that have worked in entertainment ever since there's been an entertainment industry, to get other people's approval, to see your success escalating, and also in my own experience to feel that there's a kind of disjunct between that external phenomena and how I feel inside. I think any of us that lose our inner connection in favour of something that's happening externally, even if that's something blunt and basic like drug addiction, or something more abstract like fame and success, you can start to, what you said, is lose connection with your essence a little bit.
Absolutely.
With your little child, pure self, as it were.
Absolutely. Well, it's like, for me specifically, and I would caution anyone listening to this or watching this, depending on what medium you're on, to
smelling it.
If you're smelling this podcast or tasting it, I got in a cycle where my actions every day were reinforced by views. I knew that the crazier, more inappropriate things I did would get views, and so in my mind, this was a good thing. And I started chasing that, and I got sucked into the cycle. Like, what person? Everything I did was supported by an audience, and in my mind, that meant success. When in reality, that's not the case.
Well, also though, you can take recourse to much more traditional media. If you think of like television or film or music, we know that sort of content that has a negative impact or content that's morally dubious can be continually created if, like, according to your paradigm, it equates to success, views, money. And that's work that's done collaboratively with executives that have worked there for 20 years, not kids making it up on the hop with only your own instincts about what's right and wrong to guide you.
Is it accurate to say that you had a shift in the way you created in your life?
Yeah,
because it was pretty evident to me, like, from an outsider, like, I know now you're doing a lot more conscious work and moral. I don't know how, like, what's the way to put it? Like, conscious comedy.
Oh, yeah, I like that. You've coined that, but I'll take it. Yeah, conscious comedy.
Nice.
Well done. You still got it. Now, like, what I reckon is, like, for me, it was sort of comparable to you. Like, I was older than you by the time I even got like recognition. I was doing like stand-up comedy and stuff. Then got a bit of recognition in the UK. Got a TV show. I was around 30 then, but then quite quickly got offered movie parts over here, and same as what you were saying, building up to your Japan situation, I started to value that more than, because I felt a bit, to be honest, I felt untethered from any other reality. Plus, I've already been a crack addict and a heroin addict and had mental health issues my whole life. So when something so phenomenal and exciting and glistening is happening out there, and there's all of the approval and adulation, of course that becomes your primary reality.
Yeah.
Fuck the inside world. Who
Nothing
cares
else
about
matters.
that?
Yeah, that's the life you gave up.
But for me, like, my journey, I suppose, like, I can look at it now with a degree of fortune. It's like of gratitude rather. Is like one film in particular that I've done that I was a lead in. Like, in Hollywood, things is defined by numbers. So I did a movie called Arthur, and that movie Arthur had to do a certain amount of money, or it's not a success. It didn't do that certain amount of money, so it wasn't a success. So then after that, I still made films, but it wasn't the continuing upward trajectory of like, and now more stars, and now more promiscuity. It was just a kind of, oh right, there's a ceiling, to this.
Yeah.
And then I was able to reflect. Plus, I'd been sort of hoovered somewhat into the world of celebrity because I was married to Katy Perry, who's like sort of obviously a massive pop star. So I was really present in that whole world, you know, and it's difficult to recognize normal domestic stuff like, oh, I'm just a person that's going to die, I love this person, we're two people that are together, when all that stuff's going on. But as that became more and more challenging and sort of basically painful, to be honest, like, you know, in recovery we say like that pain is the touchstone of learning. It's sort of telling you, you know, no, go this way, don't go that way. You know, because of that, that's when I started, like, directly after that sort of stuff started to feel like it was falling apart. I got involved in politics, and in the UK, commentating, doing YouTube videos actually on politics, and it got picked up and it had a real influence. And before I knew it, I was interviewing the guy that was running for Prime Minister in a general election a few years back. But even that went crazy because my ego got involved in that again. Every time I start doing things because I want people to like me, it bombs out. So from, like, it's almost like I've had it smashed out of me by experience.
So have you pulled back then on like, how are you managing that?
Well, now what I'm trying to do is stay connected to, like, luckily now I'm married, I've got 2 children, and so, like, I've got this very real domestic life where no one gives a shit, like, to an almost, I think, insulting degree about anything that I'm doing outside. Like, you know, like, no one even, they probably won't even ask, how did it go with Logan Paul? I'll go, they won't care. Some of them are too little to care, and my wife is, you know, in her 30s.
Yeah.
So, you know, so that's very grounding. The other thing is because of the program I worked around drugs, I've had realization after realization about attachment to external things. Even though I'll always be attracted, in my case as a heterosexual, to females, I recognize there's nothing for me to gain by pursuing them and a lot for me to lose. You know, it means I objectify women. If I start getting into that mindset, I could hurt my wife and ruin my family. Same with fame. Even though fame seems attractive, I recognize now, because of some of those punches I've endured, that is not going to work for me. It will lead to disappointment. It will lead to alienation. And so I'm trying to do things that, as you said, are conscious comedy, trying to stay awake myself and communicate these messages from a space of fallibility, not from a, hey, I'm sussed now, I'm sorted, I'm at the mountaintop, like, sort of me as a person, like, I'm still fucking up all the time, but this is what works for me.
Running with the idea, leading with the idea of sort of like a, I don't know, which we do, and I love living that way. Like, I am the more I can learn and the more I can admit to not knowing and just doing my best and just trying to be as present as possible, obviously the better. But I wanted to ask you about your relationship with your phone.
You've really hijacked this interview, haven't you? Like, I mean, you're in charge of it now.
I'm gonna be honest, I don't really like talking about myself, and I think you're much more interesting than me.
Well, I don't know that that's true, and I think the figures will show it. Because, like, listen, I'll do your next question, but you got to do my one. What about that? So, can you tell me, like, leading up to, like, I know it was a big controversy for you.
Yeah.
What do you think you were doing stuff that was a bit shady up until then?
Oh,
like,
for
you know,
sure.
So, what sort of videos do you think? Oh, I shouldn't have done that, and tell me where you went wrong with that Japan thing.
You can totally see the build up. Because, like I said, it was just like everything I did was. Even bad behavior was reinforced by people that wanted to see it, whether they liked it or hated it. They would come and they'd say, "Oh, this."
What like? Can you give us a couple of examples?
Yeah, sure. We went to Sicily, Italy. Sicily's the no, not Sicily. What's the water? Venice?
Right.
The water. Yeah. My brother and I we jumped into the river in Venice, and it was just like kind of like a disrespectful, like, ignoring the culture, and like someone was yelling at us in Italian. He's like, "Yo, you can't be doing that." And I was like, "Yeah, okay, great." And I like jumped off in my boxers, naked, in the middle of Venice, Italy. And then even a couple days before Japan, we were running around dressed in like Pokemon costumes, just like throwing Pokeballs at people, just like a complete and utter disrespect of both people and specifically the culture of Japan. Which at the time, it just I don't know how that didn't cross my mind. Which is why I look back at those videos and I'm like, it is very clear to see the very negative side of me that I believe, and you know, I don't want to create excuses. There's probably a handful of childhood trauma that caused me to be the way I am, but it was very easy to see the negative side of me that social media had probably helped forge.
Right, it started to become transgressive, like the stuff you did, because like pranks require a degree of transgression, but I suppose there's a difference between, you know, like stuff where it's your friends or your brother or whatever, you know, when you dislocate yourself into Venice or into Tokyo or whatever, then you might be making cultural errors that you're not aware of.
Especially when we're traveling all the time. The word is disrespect. It was, we believed. And my brother did this too. Like he got it was a mutual embarkment from the Disney Channel. I don't know how much you know about Jake, but he was on a Disney show for 2 years, and he was vlogging at the time, and he just did some disrespectful shit, and he got let go from. It was a mutual like, hey, I don't want to be in your show anymore, and hey, yo, you can't be on our show anymore. They shook hands, they left. Just blatant and utter
Was
disrespect.
this stuff that you were doing together, the both of you?
It was even worse. Like you can imagine, you thought I'm bad. There's fucking two of me.
Right, right.
Like, and in a way, a lot of the stuff we were doing was entertainment for children ages like 8 to maybe like 24, people who didn't really maybe understand respect and culture and like a worldly knowledge of what is right and wrong. But adults who saw our content are like, what the fuck is this? And I'm telling you right now, like I tried to watch a video last night that I made from like 3 or 4 years ago. I can't do it.
What was it?
I can't watch my old vlogs. This one was bad. This one was bad.
You've had to have a little drink to.
I had to remove it from YouTube actually. I faked my death.
Of course.
I faked my death in front of my fans, like young fans. I faked my death.
Hey, you're a pioneer. I was about to say you're sort of YouTube Elvis, but in a sense, it's like YouTube Johnny Rotten.
It
You
wasn't
faked your
good.
death.
It wasn't good. Yeah, it wasn't good.
What technique? Asphyxiation.
This is what makes it bad. This is what makes it. You can't do that. No, I'm just kidding. I had my friend. Okay, so I lived in an apartment. I was on the 8th floor, and across the way was I think a 5-story parking garage. And I started vlogging, and I had a very quick come up on YouTube. And so fans realized where I lived, and they would stand on top of the parking garage across the way and just wait for me to appear in the window. And I wave at them, Logan, hey, what? So eventually, since I was, I put them in videos, and they thought it was cool to show up, and they wanted to be on camera and to be in the vlog. And eventually there was like 50 to 100 kids that would stand around the parking garage. And so I was like, one day I was like, I'm going to teach them a lesson not to spy on people. Because mind you, I'm on the 8th floor, but there's also 8 floors of people, a whole built like 50 to 100 people who are being watched by 50 to 100 kids a day. So I had my friend come up to me up behind me as I was waving at my fans one day in a burglar mask. And he had a shotgun. And he cocked the shotgun and pulled the trigger, and I hired a guy to like splatter like a gallon of blood on the. The more I talked, the more I realized how just blatantly inappropriate this is. But yeah, I'm gonna stand up for myself for 1 second. If the fans and the people across the way weren't so young, I don't think this would have been that bad. But the fact that there are children,
Right.
it's not great. It's not great.
See. I tell you, like, I was just thinking while you were saying that if you were a performance artist, that would be like, whoa, that's pretty transgressive idea. But because I suppose the rules of the medium you were working in are yet to be established.
No rules. Doesn't matter.
So it's becomes kind of amorphous and a little bit confusing, because some of the stuff you were saying there about respect, of course, respect is very important, but it's also an idea that's used to create dominion and control, oppression of say women or different. The idea of respect and institutionalization, it can be is something that can be challenged and should be challenged, because otherwise there would be no progress, there would be no change. But but I suppose when I recognize what you were saying, it was like a mea culpa. I shouldn't have done that thing, and I shouldn't have. So, but it's a very unique and interesting journey you're on, because you're not working as a straightforward like a stand up like Kevin Hart, where people go, 10 years ago you did these tweets, or you're not working even as a visual artist or a musician where there's a tacked on narrative that people can go, this is how you're supposed to behave. It's sort of pioneering, isn't it? Because the territory is all new.
Well, also, yes, it's scary. It's also nice because, like Kevin, for example, he got fired from hosting the Oscars. Yeah, it was the Oscars, right? That's because of the tweets. So in a way, he's a bad example because he's very he's differentiated in many ways, and he doesn't need that job.
Right.
But as a creator, I don't have a job. I'm not hired by anyone. So although I can get canceled, like unless people stop watching my content, which if I keep creating content, they won't. There's no real repercussion. Yes, I got removed from Google Preferred, which is YouTube's high-end monetization program.
It's probably too late by then. Right?
I mean, it's just like it wasn't how I make the majority of my money. It's not. It's like I'm gonna survive. I'm gonna be okay. There and until Tokyo, there was no like. I'm saying there's no real repercussion for my actions. There's no slap on the wrist from anyone.
Because there is no anyone. Because in a sense, it's just a corporate. Like in a sense, the fact of the matter is that the money is generated through ad revenue, and as long as people are placing ads, there is no one like sort of standards and practice. It's all a very new territory.
Yep.
Pretty fascinating. So so that we've covered it because we tagged it so many times. What happened in Tokyo?
As far as
and then my understanding is you went to a place where it's a conventional spot for people taking their own lives, and you pretended to find a body. Is that if I understood it?
I wouldn't use the word pretended.
Found a body. Right. Oh, that's pretty heavy. Yeah, that is heavy. Yeah. So right. Yeah. What happened then? What happened to you as a result of that?
It wasn't great. It's. I'm still to this day feeling the repercussions of that, more so internally, I think, and maybe I'm optimistic in saying this, but like most of the world has moved on, especially because I really do believe you're only as good as the last greatest thing you did, and for me it was the fight, and before that it was the other fight, and so in many ways I've been blessed with the opportunity to prove myself beyond just that kid who did that one thing.
Yes.
But there was an extreme internal shift about who I was becoming. I was at a fork in the road in my life, and I chose the wrong path and went up it for a long time. So Tokyo happened, and I had to literally press the rewind button on my life and go back to a spot where I was like, okay, I think I know who I am. Let's try this again. I think I was 22 years old. I was like, let's try this again. Let's do everything I possibly can to change who I am. That was when I went vegan. I went vegan for 4 months. I got a girlfriend. I settled down. I took up boxing. I just tried to regiment and make a routine for myself so I could find myself again. And I believe I did. And like I said, I'm still on this journey. But yeah, it led to an extreme shift in me.
Was it the first time that like sort of politicians or did you get outside forces involved, media, outside forces, and that kind of thing?
Yeah, it was the first time. It was the first time I was denounced by everyone on the planet.
How did that feel?
Your peers, politicians, my peers. It was horrible. It was horrifying. It was the worst moment of my life. It was just, yeah.
And how did you? So you said like that in a sense you gave yourself a kind of therapy, the therapy of like changing your diet, changing your lifestyle, settling down, and starting to reevaluate
everything.
Yeah, and were you able to do that through your content as well? So like,
no, I actually stepped back from the content.
Right.
I stepped back from the content because the more I was changing, the more I was realizing that this character of like Logan Paul Vlogs is just not me, and we have footage of me on camera just like becoming frustrated with having to fake this energy on camera. It put me into like a mild depression. I'm blessed to say I don't like suffer from clinical depression, but I was very sad for a very long time, and I tried to ignore it and I couldn't, and it was evident in my content. And I vilified myself, I self-sabotage, and I got into just a really it was the worst part of my life, and it forever will be the worst part of my life. But it also led to an extreme shift that I'm very happy with. I love myself right now, and I love the person that I have become and the person that I am becoming.
How did you get there?
Through a series of extremely high highs and extremely low lows, ups and downs, and then surrounding myself with the right people who help me get on the right path. Like I told you at the beginning, like I've never really had a mentor. I've never had someone who I can call up and say, like, this is how I'm feeling. What do I do? And it I'm sure you've had this moment. It was a very disappointing, Mom and Dad, I'm so sorry. It was a very sad moment in my life when I could no longer rely on my parents for practical life advice, given the circumstances that I'm living in.
And of course, this is a necessary mythic transaction that happens on the journey to manhood or adulthood. Is that there's a point where your parents can't do that job anymore, and you have to find, you have to find the mentor. You have to find someone that's going to help you across the path. That's going to help you to make those decisions. Did you do you have any other behavioural or substance misuse issues? Have you ever got out of control with food or drugs or pornography or sex or anything like that? I'm checking when you looked at Andre the Shapeshifter.
It's because we laugh. We live together, and there's 6 of us in the house, and we laugh about one of the things you said. So the answer is no. I love to party. I'm sober now, but and I'll go on and off. Especially when I'm training for fights, like 3-4 months sober, and then after the fight we rage hard as fuck.
So it's not really an issue for you. You're not doing things with drink or drugs that cause you to mess your life or anyone else's life up.
Minus one thing that he and my roommates make fun of me for sometimes. Sex, dude. Sex. I would argue I'm not addicted, but is denial the first step? I don't fucking know. I don't know.
Well, I would say that if something has a sort of a compulsive hold on you, and that if you're in a situation, like they say, if you want to know if you're addicted to something, see what happens to you when you can't do it. And what that does to you physically and what it does to you mentally. Now, sort of a young man your age, for whom I imagine there's no shortage of willing sexual partners, there's nothing morally or ethically wrong with it. I don't think there's anything morally or ethically wrong with taking heroin. If you can handle it and you're not causing problems to yourself and other people, it's only if the definition for sexual addiction is it upsetting the people that you're sleeping with? Maybe they have something. The thing I discovered as a person in a public eye with a with a profile or whatever, with a reputation, is there's a sort of a bit of an imbalance in the power that can be difficult to address. Because people are attracted to you that maybe otherwise wouldn't be, and you don't have to do so much stuff to create that situation.
The work you have to put in to have sex is it's cheating. It's like a cheat code. I don't know if it's...
And plus, you're so young and good looking. I at least have to do 10 years of recognising, this is reality. Nobody's interested.
Really?
Well, yeah, when I was younger, and I was also very shy and insecure about my body and stuff like that. So when I got famous, it was like, oh my God, this is ridiculous. People want to sleep with me.
Yes.
I sort of went a bit mental.
Yeah.
With it. It was...
that's what I'm saying. I don't know. It's a fine line between being addicted to sex and just what guy wouldn't utilize this weird, I'll use the word power that I've been blessed with because of this fucking fame clout thing.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Possibly there will be a journey comparable to the other external things that you've talked about. At least I found that to be my experience. Initially, I thought, well, all these people want to sleep with me, and I want to sleep with all these people, so this is a great situation. But over time, personally, most of my things begin quite selfishly. I started to feel a little bit lonely. Then I started to think, is it fair or right that I'm sleeping with these people? And it's like that's how it sort of incrementally happened.
I really do truthfully believe I'm there right now in my life. Which I'm happy it's happening at this age. I just I did it all. I did all of it. I'm kind of just I'm ready to have a baby.
Well, you're looking at me with those blue eyes. It's very difficult not to try and think perhaps I'll get a womb implant. Now, this is what I think. Then tell me then. So it's really good. I think this is a really interesting journey you're on. It's had nadirs, giddying highs, terrible low points, a sort of a progression towards that act that you regarded as a transgression. And then now you're on a journey of discovery and an incredible power. Because just while you were talking, I was thinking, it's like you as if you're NBC or something, but you're just a person because you've got direct access to the audience, and no one can step in and go, hey, if you want access to that audience, you're going to have to act this way or do this. That you're going to have to find that. In a sense, you've got no choice but to go on a spiritual journey because there's going to be no external regulator except your own impulses, your own instincts, and possibly negative circumstances, unless you find something that feels true and real to you. And in my experience, that's like the discovery of service, being of service to other people, and finding a real connection within yourself that means you no longer require external validation in quite the same way.
I heard you say that on I think it was Rogan's podcast, and I hope in the near future to have a revelation like that, and being able to truly live it, because like, you know, a mission of service. Just being truthfully honest right now, like I'm at like a semi-selfish point in my life right now. I'm 24 years old. I'm heavily investing into myself and my future, and while I love being of service when I can, I do it in a way that maybe still serves my mission.
Yeah. One of my mentors says enlightened self-interest a lot of the time, that we're but often our self-interest is, you know, because it's kind of almost natural. We're not saints or deities, you know.
Well, I think I read somewhere like every human acts on selfish impulses, even when you are being of service. And maybe rebuttal me here, but even when you do an act of kindness or something philanthropic, why are you doing it? Just to do it? Just to make other people feel better? No, like you probably feel good doing it too. And it doesn't mean it's bad. Doesn't mean the thing you're doing is bad. But the selfishness, and take that word with a grain of salt, not necessarily like the dictionary, like the connotation of it, comes from knowing that it's going to make you feel good.
That's true. And in a sense, the program that I was taught is a kind of hack, in the sense that you get to the point where you recognize, all right, I have to continually be of service to others in order to feel this way. Nothing else will work. Money won't work, sex won't work, fame won't work, other people's approval won't work. But when other people go, I'm really grateful to you, you really helped me there, I sort of, it addresses the very thing that motivated my former behaviors, a sense of, sort of a deep sense of not being good enough, being worthless, and sensing that if people really knew me, they wouldn't like me. Now, you talked a little bit about childhood trauma, but I pick up your parents are sort of still together and stuff. What kind of difficulties and challenges did you have in your early life, and also what is it that do you feel that there's something you're trying to redress about yourself?
Did you say redress?
Address, maybe.
Address. The more I evolve and mature, the more I realize truly how much my childhood, and especially the trauma, has shaped who I am. Every single person is shaped drastically by childhood trauma, and I did not know how much that sticks with you for the rest of your life. So when I was young, my parents went through a very, very nasty divorce, and I lead with comedy. I don't really take myself too seriously, so I'd always joke about it. And you know, like 2 Christmases and everything. I had a stepdad, and my dad had a like multiple girlfriends. One her families have moved in with us, so I had like a family of like stepbrothers and stepsisters at one point, and I didn't realize how much that shaped who I was today. And yeah, just like there were points where maybe my parents were a little too aggressive with me. Because their parents were aggressive with them. I think the biggest thing that it affected was my vulnerability and empathy.
How do you mean?
Specifically from my dad's side.
What if you didn't feel it safe being vulnerable?
Never.
Oh.
No, this was Ohio.
You don't be vulnerable in Ohio.
Living in the woods.
I'm in Ohio and I'm feeling fragile. Get the fuck out then.
I mean, not. The Midwest in many ways. I think we're in like a weird shift of culture right now where people are praising the ability to feel, because as they should, by the way. And I'm learning that coming out here, and I'm still learning it. I think my last girlfriend really helped me understand the power of being empathetic and caring and leading with kindness, which I can't say that was like that was a forethought I had coming into Hollywood. Mine was like, yo, I'm going to put my head down and run through that fucking wall as hard as I possibly can. And that's the way I'm going to be successful. And that's how all my content every day, just blasts of energy. And that's how I figured I was going to take over.
Yeah. I mean, that's not, in a sense, that's a culturally accepted modality, isn't it? The way you get success is through drive, through energy, through power, through glorification of the individual. You don't worry about vulnerability and empathy. Forget all that. That's going to inhibit your ability to be competitive and successful. So it's understandable that you think that. There are many traits, I think, that, or say tropes we live out and before recognizing, hang on a minute, I was taught this culturally. Like when I started to look at my own, like, yeah, I would really like to be famous and successful and be promiscuous. Does that idea exist in culture? Yeah, it does. You're bombarded with that idea continually. Every time, every motor car, every a commercial is using sort of sex and desire, and fear is used. You know, that we're continually invited to live on the level of sort of blind animal desire, mindless fear. These are sort of things that are stimulated, and given the potency of your reach and audience, like you have the opportunity to what do I want to say, avoid those kind of frequencies.
I
you
agree.
can communicate from a position of vulnerability, empathy, and love.
I agree.
People are going to feel it.
The one thing many things I'm thankful for, but one thing I am very thankful for about my platform and my come up and my ups and downs is I hope to be a beacon that people can look at and base some of their heavy important decisions on the way that I've moved in my life, good or bad. Whether if I can be a model in any way, like, oh, Logan did that, I shouldn't do. Oh, Logan did that. I like the way he navigated that part of his life. Like that. My parents only knew so much. I did not have a mentor. I only knew what I knew, and there was no me. There was no person making the mistakes on my level or successes on my level that I could look up to at the time. So if I can in any way influence people to live their life in a way that like they truly believe is right, I'm blessed and thankful for that opportunity in the social space.
I think you're already sort of on that path, it sounds like. Tell me more about the fighting. I recognise that you got into it as a kind of a response to feeling that sort of personal low there. And how did it escalate to the point where you're having bouts? Because I like jiu-jitsu and stuff like that.
Oh, nice. Do you train?
Yeah, BJJ. But
Nice.
I'd be very frightened to just like, you know, I thought that's a lot of front, you know, doing them public fights and stuff.
Yeah.
I respect that. And how did you get yourself there? And what was it like?
Yeah. It's weird. It's I came out to Hollywood and my goal was always to be the biggest entertainer in the world. Doesn't mean be the biggest actor. Doesn't mean the biggest YouTuber. I just wanted to entertain on like a massive level. Like I would argue like Dwayne Johnson or Kevin Hart are doing like a good job of like a model that I'd like to maybe shift a little bit, but sort of follow. And so when I was at this really low point in my life, I was given this opportunity to become a fighter, and I put my head down. I learned boxing, and 5 months later, I had my first fight. Then I had my.
How did the first one go?
It was a tie. It was a tie. Which
How
was
many rounds?
Six rounds, 6 3-minute rounds.
What was it like?
Boxing. It was insane. It was insane. The scope of the event was absolutely mind-boggling. I couldn't understand, I guess, why people were so fascinated by this. But there's a serious appetite for like hand-to-hand combat, and people love to see people fight for whatever reason. And I also fell in love with the sport. Like I did combat sports in high school. I did jiu-jitsu. I did wrestling. I played football. I love athletics. And there was a point in my life where I wanted to be an MMA fighter, but I was too smart. I like I said, I'm a nerd. So knowing that I could just like study and like save my brain, I decided to do that instead.
When you were in the ring for the fight, you know, your first fight, did you experience or feel things that you didn't anticipate feeling, like maybe levels of fear, of like, you know, or highs? What was it like?
That's a good question. There was the one thing in both fights that I noticed is just the first fight, just how present I was. I had never been as grounded in my life, in a moment of like, this is really happening. I've seen this on TV. I've watched UFC my whole life. I watched boxing. I watched sports. I couldn't believe that I was the person in the ring that everyone was looking at. I went to the Staples Center yesterday for a Kane Brown concert. 3 months ago, I sold out the Staples Center and was boxing in the middle of it. Being at the Staples Center, looking around, and I go, holy shit! I just fought right there in front of like all these people. It was the most trippy experience of my life, because I very much so truly do believe I'm just like a kid from Ohio who happened to like making videos in a time where people happen to like watching videos. now I'm a professional boxer who is selling out the Staples Center, and my life in many ways, speaking from the last fight, became a movie. The last fight I didn't feel present. The last fight I felt for the first time in my life I had no control with what was happening.
Wow.
An out of body experience. We are trapped in a 20 by 20 foot ring, and I'm the one putting on the show. The lights are on us. Everything I do, every move I make is being heavily scrutinized, watched, and will affect the outcome of this event.
Yeah, that's a real serious situation, because I think any fight is a difficult situation to be in, because you're confronted with someone else's primal energy. Like, they're, oh my, this person's gonna hurt me.
Who wants to? That's what they've been training for 2 years to do. Just hurt, just destroy you.
Yeah, and then there it is, and all there is between you and that is yourself and whatever you can get together.
Yeah.
You know, and like, so I think, you know, that's pretty powerful to be willing to do that. So doing it in the context, you know, particularly as you obviously haven't had a conventional journey to that point of, I was doing these amateur bouts, I had 20 fights at this level, I done this, and I trained with these people at that gym. You kind of, it's a unique path.
Very, very. It's and I have to. It was a cheat code in a way. Because you have. Boxing is an extremely hard sport. You have boxers who have worked their whole lives, and are not seeing the paychecks or the fandom that we managed to garner for my first professional fight. And so I have to empathize with the athletes who are putting everything on their life, or everything on the line every day of their life. We in many ways, I was able to skip the line.
Yeah, and it's not your fault that you found this innovative pathway, you know, that you were put into. You just did what happened, you know. Yeah. Like, I do think sometimes in one of the challenges with individualism, like, you know, when I've met very successful people and they've gone, well, you know, I did the work or whatever. I remember having a conversation with a really, really successful movie star and him saying, like, about how hard he worked. And I said, yeah, but you didn't give yourself the ability to work that hard. That's just in you. That's like being born with a massive dick, or like, it's like just a thing you've got, like, for free.
Yeah.
You know, so like, you know, and so, but nonetheless, your conditions, like, just because there are, you know, fighters out of Detroit that have had to go through XYZ in order to get their shot, it just means, well, you were a fusion of a few different industries. Yeah. But what was it like? Did you get in the second fight? Did you get hurt? Was it like physically hurt or emotionally hurt? What was it like?
Not even remotely. No. So yeah, the first fight was a tie. So kind of like let's sweep it under the rug. Like, how do you feel after a tie? I don't know, indifferent, maybe a little disappointed. But the second fight was, I don't know if you know, I lost.
Right.
I lost the fight by a controversial call via the ref. Took away
decision.
It was a split decision.
Oh.
I lost. I lost by 1 point. The ref took away 2 points.
Oh, for what, an infringement of some
yeah,
kind?
he was down, so I knocked him down. I hit him with an uppercut. I knocked him down, and then I tapped him in the back of the head. Because in my mind, I'm like, oh, this is a fight. I'm trying to fucking kill this guy.
Yeah,
so I tapped him
to manage. Particularly, I suppose that's another thing about experience. You've not got 10 years of knowing, you know, make sure just walk away at that moment.
But in boxing, there's rules.
Right.
It's a sport. You can't hit the person in the back of that.
Oh,
even MMA in many ways, like the move would have been fine. But yeah, so I lost, and this is interesting. So we're standing there, and my hand isn't raised. Took the L. For about 10 seconds, I was pretty sad. It stung. Like, ow. I said to my brother, I turned to him, I was like, ow, this hurts. I'm in pain. He's like, you good? I was like, no, ow. And then I was fine. I took a very heavy loss, although like sort of controversial, but it didn't feel like I had lost. And maybe you could help me here. The conclusion that I reached was, I have become so comfortable with losing ever since Japan, ever since the next controversy I had after that, ever since the next scandal I had after that. I, in many ways, am absolutely unaffected by losing. So I knew when my hand wasn't raised, I was like, yeah, I'm probably gonna be fine. I've bounced back before from like a real loss. From a real low, and I'm gonna be okay. So I believe I've maybe gotten complacent with losing, and I'd like to go back to a point where when I first came to Hollywood, I was so hungry, and all I wanted to do was win, and there was a massive succession of wins, and now it's like,
I think that energy has served you, innit? It's delivered you to this place. And in a sense, complacency around losing or complacency around results, I understand from a kind of an individualistic and materialistic perspective how that could be regarded as negative. But from a kind of a place of strength and inner connection, being able to accept that in reality, things sometimes don't go your way, sounds like huge progress. And I feel like you might be a point, Logan, where you have to really watch the events that happen in your life, like I suppose all of us do, but perhaps not in such a pronounced and mythically vivid way, and see where you're being led by it, where you are being led. Like, oh, if you're going to continue down that fighting path, then, you know, there's going to be all sorts of expertise and training and diligence, or if it's going to be another discipline within fighting, you know, or if it's going to be recognizing where have you had the most success and where is it trying to go. There are a lot of people that believe, sort of comparative mythologists, people that compare different folklores, religions and faiths, that there are sort of continual, universal or perennial messages that occur throughout all of them, and that one of the ideas is that all of us have this innate thing, this essence that's trying to realize itself, and little things happen. Your parents get divorced and like, oh shit, I've gone off track, or someone offends you, insults you, abuses you, violates you, and you go off track. But, you know, we find our way. And I feel that when you said that about like feeling able to process and manage the loss, I didn't think, oh no, this dude's complacent. I thought, wow, this person is strong, you know, able to handle that, because as you said, it was like sort of quite circumstantial. And I feel like that the message I would be tempted to take from that is, what is it you want to do? Where do you want to take this now? Because in a sense, the amount of influence you've got in your milieu and the areas in which you're dominant, I think will mean you probably be able to do whatever you want. If you want to, you know, people will cast you in movies just for the promo power of it. And, you know, so if that's something you want to pursue, you'll be able to pursue it. If you want to get into public speaking, you'll be able to do that. You'll be able to do anything. So in a sense, I suppose one of your primary responsibilities is going to be making sure that you are in touch with yourself and that you're surrounded by people that aren't too excited by the phenomena and the ephemera that's around you, so that you don't, as a young man with a lot of opportunities, and as you said, having transcended the group that created you, your family of origin now can only do so much for you. So you're going to have to keep a good tribe around you and listen to yourself, learn to listen to yourself and then run it by other people. Good, because if you were like, I'm going to have another fight, I mean, I don't know what you're doing in terms of your career.
Yeah, I think I'm
have another fight. No, keep fighting, man. But you're going to do whatever it is that, you know, that you're into. But it sounds like you're cultivating a good inner connection in any event.
I'm trying. And you said trust yourself. And like I always try to like provide value for the listener and not get too removed from like real life, because I truly do believe, like, especially LA, this is a bubble. I don't know if I'm at the point where I can 100% trust myself right now, because of I'll blame my youth and my inexperience. I would like to believe I'm close, but like, why do I make mistakes? Why does anyone make mistakes? Maybe you trusted yourself too much, and that's why I have him around me, and that's why I have shape-shifting Andre, and that's why I have people around me who I can weigh my decisions, or help weigh my decisions with me, so I'm making the right moves.
That sounds very, very sensible. Do you meditate?
That's what she said. That's literally what she said. No, I've tried.
Do you pray?
No.
Are you?
I speak to the universe.
That's all right.
I manifest.
How can we not? We're stuck in the middle of the bloody thing. Like how is your general serenity, calmness levels? You're not you're not doing crazy erratic stuff, or
not anymore. Not anymore. The moment I put down the camera from like the daily vlogging, and that like hypnotic stage, or just shoot, edit, post, repeat. The more I have calmed down. Granted, I have bursts of energy. I'm still a fucking psycho, but yeah, I'm very happy, complacent, and I don't know what a good word is. Yep. podcast.
You sound like you're connected. You're like, it's like sometimes you talk to people, or I talk to people, and I think, oh my God, I need to step in and really help this individual. You know, normally there's some real obvious manifestation: drink, drugs, excessive sexual behaviour, self-harming, but it sounds to me like you're navigating it very successfully and like doing really, really well. I mean, I'm sure you would benefit from some of the stuff that like I'm interested in: systems of personal development, personal inventory, prayer and meditation. But like again, that pathway happens at your own sort of pace.
Are you religious?
Yeah, but like I believe in sort of everything.
Okay.
I believe in, like, that thing I mentioned to you, perennialism, looking for
yes.
the common trends in various religions and what those ideas might mythically mean. I'm interested in having an interface with the world that is beyond the senses, knowing as we do that we only see within a limited light range, only hear within a limited audio range, that there is vibrations and frequencies that are inaccessible to us. Also in the microscopic and subparticular world, there is sort of lawless phenomena happening, neutrinos, tiny particles of what we can only really compare to light, and out in the macro world, sort of multi-universes, phenomena that's difficult for us to sort of comprehend. What I've come to recognize is our individual animalistic experience as humans, as mammals, is so limited that there are real practical phenomena out there which to us seem like magic, and that consciousness itself, the very fact of being, experiencing reality, is a kind of miracle, and that you can interface, I think, with super physical forces through your own consciousness. So that's a kind of religious idea, because that's like petitioning to a higher source now.
You said a lot there. You said a lot, and I believe I'm following, and I love that mindset. If someone were to ask you, like, what is your religion? Like, what do you say? Do you have an answer? Do you say I'm spiritual?
I go like, I'm trying to, like, I feel like I'm trying to just overcome the battle of my own ego, trying to overcome the battle of what I want. And it's a daily thing. Like, today I've done stuff where I think, oh shit, man, I shouldn't have done that. That was a stupid thing to say. It happens all the time with me. Like, that's where, in a sense, you're lucky if you've got a plain vanilla addiction, like you've been a heroin addict. Your behavior has created such obvious problems that you now, for the rest of your life, recognize that you're capable of being a dick, and you learn how to watch yourself. Plus, it's a habit that will kill you. So when it's replaced by something less obvious, like, sort of sex or porn or food or codependency or caring too much about work, So in a sense, my ideology, I would say, my ideology comes from sort of recover the person you were intended to be, awaken to who you're trying to become.
His girlfriend says it all the time. Reclaim your power.
Andre's girlfriend. She would have a solution. She's there at the arm of the mystic.
She meditates.
Of course she does. Yeah. Why would she not?
Yeah, she's a meditator.
She needs a bit of peace from Andre, shifting shapes every few seconds.
They help each other. They build each other.
Oh.
Nah, yeah.
He's not even been cynical about his mate for a cheap laugh, which I would have done at 24, which I would do at 44.
You got a family and everything. That's nice, man. That's cool. I heard you got 2 kids, daughters.
2 daughters, a 3-year-old and a 1.5-year-old. They're just like sort of incredible, intense, like, but not enough to stop me being crazy. If anything, they promote craziness. They're like
what kind of crazy? What are we talking about though? Like
my little daughter would sometimes go, "Fuck off!" Like, she's 3 years old, and you're like, "Whoa!" You can have arguments with her like an adult. Like, she's so like intense. The other one is so sort of adorable and cuddly and cute. The 18-month-old, and the one that's free just thinks that I work for her. Come here, Dad. Come on, let's do this now. And if you don't do what she wants, she goes, "Ah!"
She's gonna be awesome.
Yeah, she's
what's
gonna
her name?
be powerful. Mabel.
She's gonna be awesome.
Yeah, Mabel and
That's
Peggy,
cool.
my girls. They're very, very, they're beautiful, but it's put me into context. I recognise, I just facilitate for these people now. Well, Logan, this has been, I think, a lovely conversation. We've done 59 minutes and 12 seconds. Who knows where this will end up? Who knows where this will lead? But yeah I'm in your corner, although I wouldn't be much use in a literal corner other than like, oh, be careful, mate, watch your chin.
I need to hear that sometimes. Yeah, that's useful. Yeah, thanks for having me on, man.
Thank you.
For real, this was fun. Yeah, hopefully someone took an inkling something of advice or something they can move forward in their life with.
Yeah,
during
there's
this
loads
podcast.
because you're dealing with a very common thing. Everyone thinks that if they're successful, everyone thinks if they had a sort of a, the world's most successful YouTube channel, that everything would be okay. And look at you. There's been points where that in itself has been the thing that's brought you to crisis and despair and loneliness.
Yeah.
And that you've been on a continual journey of reflection, and you're on a continual journey of discovery. And that's all of us. So however we're doing it, we're all trying to find our pathway.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
You're doing well in that new terrain. I was thinking, like, it's like a territory, isn't it? The sort of the online world. It's like a physical territory. It's like countries, nations being discovered. And there you are, rampaging through them like Alexander the Great.
Alexander's my middle name.
All right.
Named after that guy. Logan Alexander Paul.
Oh, there you go.
Let's hit those CTAs. Hey, subscribe, like in the video.
Oh
and
my God, this is so professional. Do that. Show what?
Call to action. Wherever this ends up, make sure you subscribe to that channel. I'm sure it's great. It's probably watchable in some degree, in some capacity. So yeah, hit that subscribe button, like the video, and you'll see Russell in the future.
Thank you.
Somewhere.
I'll be in the future, won't I? I'll
Probably on my
make it-
probably on my Twitter. Your blurbs come up on my Twitter. I watch all of them. You'll take the little snippets of your podcast, right?
Yeah. That's where you'll see me there in the future.
And probably other places too. Are you gonna act more?
All right then.
What?
I could act. I could do some acting. I've just done a film actually. I've done a film in England. One
Okay,
of those.
cool.
Death on the Nile. They made Murder on the Orient Express a couple of years ago.
Yep.
Kenneth Branagh and Johnny Depp and all that.
Yep.
But they done another one of them, and I'm in that.
Cool.
So I've done a bit of acting.
Cool. Very cool.
You gonna do some acting?
I think so. I'm gonna get back into it. Yeah, we have a script. We're probably gonna start pitching soon. Me and my roommate. Yeah, I want to get back into it. I've been in a handful of films actually. So yeah, we'll see. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, well done. All right, well, I think
Thank you, brother.
we can probably leave this hot little room, can't we? There's a guy in there all along. There was a pervert. Hold on a minute. I'll tell you what, I'll come up behind you, shoot you, right? And this guy will be so blown away, he'll never spy again.
I'm down. Yeah, I wanted to reveal him earlier, but
Great
there he
reveal.
is.
Well done.
Thank you for watching that episode of Under the Skin with Logan Paul. If you'd like to listen to all the latest episodes of Under the Skin, please subscribe to Luminary. You can download the app at luminary.link/Russell. Some previous episodes include Karamo Brown, Lena Dunham, and Jamila Jamil.